Good evening. Looks like there's a couple folks here. Hello. Let's see, who's that? Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. And hello, Necessary Truth. Okay, so so here we are today, right now, and we're going to be doing tarot readings tonight. I'm just going to do the Astrodoodle anyway for the record, but of course I'm not going to talk about anything remotely controversial. No. We're here on big old YouTube, the center of the universe. Okay, here's the 13th of October. Very close to a cusp point. We just crossed a cusp. Again, going retrograde, we just crossed going direct, over there. We're heading into a cusp over here, into Sagittarius. So there's a lot of cusp energy. And when you get close to that cusp energy, especially when you're coming into it, it can create, Mr. Ross, of course. It can create an energy of crisis and desperation. Wouldn't you know? Who would have guessed? No way. So, yeah. We're seeing a lot of crises, a lot of desperation across the earth. Okay. Crisis points here. I just put one there. Another one. Moon just entered over here. Okay, we got another one over here, crisis point. This is getting close. This is very close. It just triggered. Okay, so we got multiple crisis points. We've got this big, fat, beautiful, soft, gentle triangle with the trine here, the sextile here, the sextile here. It's been with us for months. It's going to be here for months. It's a very powerful alignment between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. It's beautiful in itself in terms of just the pure nature of astrology, but you have to remember it is just an energy field, and it's up to us what we do with it and how we respond and so on. And sadly, over here, the folks at the very, very, very apex of the global food chain have some very nefarious, ambitions to take over the world, and it's not going very well, so they're using nefarious means, tapping into the beautiful Neptune energy, but in a very unhealthy aspect, and taking cover from all the chaos going on with Uranus. All right. So let me just set that note here. Hello, no idea what planet that is. Definitely Jupiter. Oh, okay. Well, we've got over here. What was that one? Teal, what was the planet in the beginning of your life? Okay. Well, over here, I'll just go through them all quickly with you. Here we have Pluto. I'm starting from here. Okay. Pluto on the cusp in Capricorn at the degree of crises, 29.5 degrees. Direct, so it's heading in that direction. It's not going to go back. Eventually it's going to cross over next year into Pluto and Aquarius. That's when the revolution really begins, okay? And that's a 20-year journey from here to here. We just lived through the 18-year journey, whatever it was, from here to here. That was 2008 with the global financial crisis, right there. Anyway, Pluto, Moon. All right, let me just hold it steady. Sorry. You don't want to get dizzy or start vomiting on the screen here. Pluto, Moon, it's actually now in Pisces, right here on the cusp. Saturn, over here in Pisces, in the middle, retrograde. Neptune in Pisces, on the cusp, retrograde. The North Node, Chiron. Uranus in Taurus, retrograde, also close to the cusp. Jupiter in Gemini, retrograde. Oh no. Mars in Cancer, direct. The Sun is in Libra, and Mercury is in Libra on the cusp. So we got cusp, 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 cusp. These are crises points. So, gosh, it feels weird being here on YouTube. I gotta tell you, people. Anyway, let's just say hi and meet everybody, our old friends. There we are. Hello, everybody. Thank you for visiting. Thank you for hanging out. You're like my old friends. Like, you're my peeps. Yeah. It's you guys. We've been doing this since almost 8 years now. Can you believe that? And you guys have been here pretty much since the beginning. And as you know, we have gone through a recent death spiral with TarotLumination on YouTube. And we're now going through a birth spiral on the new RUMBLE platform. And, oh man, it's weird. It's very much a Pluto thing, so I'm not going to stress too much about it. It's just birth, creation and procreation, and then death. Okay? It's the never-ending cycle of birth, procreation, and death. Birth, procreation, and death. That's one of the core themes of Pluto. And some of you know that, Pluto kind of represents the shadow world, the dark world of the great beyond, where we all end up. Yeah. So, when you look at the chart, it just looks like a bunch of squiggles. Hey, by the way, hold on, sorry. I sent out a YouTube short about 3 or 4 hours ago, hoping that it would reach a bunch of people online. I can't find the shorts anywhere on my TarotLumination channel. Also, I cannot find this video that we're doing live right now on my channel, which I find very, very strange. So, I don't know what to tell you. I think it's just freak luck that we're here. I think it's just very, very old muscle memory from our brains that it's just like, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock on Sunday night, Pacific time. Oh no! That's a TarotLumination Sunday Live Tarot readings. That's where people willingly jump into the arena and they bare their soul to the world and they have all their issues come out in a little mini tarot reading. So if there's anyone here tonight who's never seen this before, never hung out with us before, and you're just sort of like wondering, what is this? It's tarot reading. These are tarot cards. They're magical, mystical tarot cards. They've been around for hundreds of years. And the artistry is beautiful. The mythology is beautiful. And there are now thousands of tarot readers all over YouTube and all over the place. When I started, it wasn't that many. When I started, also, there weren't that many astrologers. Now, of course, it's flooded with astrologers and tarot readers. And yeah, anyway, had to move on. When you look at a chart, I'll show you in a minute, that's just my astrodoodle impression of what's happening in our solar system. The planets are whizzing around nonstop all day, every day, doing what they do. They, for better or worse, they're sucked into a gravitational dance with our star, the sun, right in the middle. The sun is like a massive, massive nuclear, self-contained nuclear power plant. It generates massive amounts of energy through fusion, and it goes whoosh, and that's what we call sunlight, and it's a very, very powerful radiation field. And that energy field radiates all around the sun, but in terms of the gravity, it's interesting to note, did you know that the sun rotates? It rotates on an axis, just like the Earth. It's not as fast as the Earth, but it does rotate. And it does have a gravitational field accordingly. And on the axis of rotation, which goes like this, when you look at the spiral, the gravitational pull goes out this way, and 4.5 billion years ago it sucked in enough space dust, random space rocks, asteroids, little rocks, pebbles, monsters, big huge asteroids, and the gravity just sucked it all in, and some of the dust and the gravel and the rocks coalesced, and the iron, calcium, silicates, and every element you can think of coalesced into what we call the planets. If you look on the larger scale, there's the planets, but there's also the asteroid belt, and there's a bunch of special little asteroids and the exoplanets and everything. And for the most part, they hover in orbit around the sun in a singular plane like this. If my head is the sun, for example, they kind of go around like that. Okay? But Pluto is as a kind of an angle. It kind of goes like that. Okay? And then the Earth itself, which is tilted, has its own orbit that goes on the tilt. And that's how and why we have the seasons as it goes around the sun. And what's happening right now, people are just starting to notice it. It's been on record recently, scientifically, about all these different solar cycles and geological cycles with heat waves and ice ages and tropical ages and subtropical ages and so on. The dinosaurs, prehistory, pre-human, the reptiles, pre-mammalian, and then hominids, and all that stuff going on. And where we are today in our 4 billion year cycle, we started 4 billion years ago, and now we are here. And everything that we know about human existence that we call Homo sapiens happened in the last half of an inch, quarter of an inch in terms of time, just a few million years. So we're kind of freaks of nature that we're even here at all. Now, because I've been doing this for years, I've done thousands of readings with tarot and astrology. I kind of take it all for granted. I do a lot of this stuff on autopilot. I just look at my charts every day, and I try to absorb and understand the energy. And then I try to translate it as though it's like a weather channel. Okay, the moon's doing this and Pluto's doing that and everything. So what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you and me? What does that mean to the world? Well, I've started doing a lot of that stuff on my new RUMBLE platform. And I can talk openly and freely over there. So I'm inviting all of you, any of you here tonight, to go and visit there during the week. I'll have to check. Give me a second. I have to do some background work here to check what's going on, because there's some things that are very, very weird here tonight. Okay. And so as all the planets whiz around, they impact each other more or less, like tiny little bits here and there. Sometimes the orbit squeezes, sometimes it expands, because they have geomagnetic influence on each other besides just orbiting the sun. The Earth, I've learned, has multiple different cycles. There's the Milankovitch cycles, there's the sunspot cycle, and a bunch of other cycles. There's a 6,000 year cycle regarding the Earth's axis. There's a multi-thousand year cycle regarding the magnetic poles. But I just wanted to comment on the Earth's axis, because if you can imagine it, hold on. I forgot, I've got a movie's prop. I have a movie prop. Okay, there we are, good old-fashioned Earth, all right? So there it is, roughly on the axis, and it whizzes around, I'm not sure which way, but anyway, and that gives us day and light, Sunday, and, nighttime and daytime, nighttime and daytime. And as it goes around the sun, it kind of goes like that, okay? And so at some point, this part is exposed to the sun more than the other, and you get summer up here and winter here, and then you get eventually winter up here and summer down there, and so on. But the interesting thing I was learning recently is how the Earth is what it is. It's spinning around like this. It orbits, this whole thing orbits around the sun like so, around the same plane as the other planets. But as it orbits, it does a little bit of this. Watch. Hold on, see if I can do it. Well, I can't really do it. It does basically this. Roughly every 6,000 years. I'll hold the tips here. So it kind of does this. Just like a spinning top. It's not perfect. So it has slight gyrations, like a gyroscope, you know? And those little tiny, it's very small degrees. It's just a couple of degrees here and there, back and forth, every few thousand years. But what they found out is that this pattern of the movement, sorry, I'll do it like this. This pattern of the movement of the actual Earth axis corresponds to the Sahara Desert pattern. What they've noticed, this is all, you can check this out, do your own research, but the Sahara Desert, over here, it flips roughly every 6,000 years. The weather changes enough that all of this goes green and wet. Hold on. Fascinating stuff. Well, I think it is, and I'm just sharing it. Let me go over here. This over here, there's the Sahara Desert, okay? Roughly every 6,000 years, it goes from desert to green oasis, full of streams and some big lakes and shallow rivers and palm trees and grass and greenery and stuff, and then animals and life forms of all kinds. And then 6,000 years later, it turns back to a desert. So you have all these seeds that are living deep in the sand, and they get disrupted. When they get the water that they need in enough quantity over enough time, they start to sprout. It's just like in the deserts out here. You know, out here, I live in a desert out here. It's completely, utterly barren, except for like what looks like dead weeds. But if it gets a rainstorm, a massive rainstorm, which happens, you could be driving out here and all of a sudden you'll see these dazzling, colorful mountains and deserts covered with multicolored flowers and plants. Anyway, it's sort of what happens over here. The point of my little story is that this is just part of nature. If this can turn every 6,000 years into a green oasis, imagine what's going to happen over here in Inner Mongolia, over here in North America and Canada. What's going to happen to us? Is this going to turn into a massive desert and burn alive? Is this going to turn into desert? Is this going to turn into lush forests or whatever? We don't know. I don't know. They're doing research on these things now. But anyway, that's just one example of how the planets affect us and how we are affected through our own God-given reality. So as this changes here, we're going to feel it on Earth. There's another thing that's happening right now, which is being heavily studied in the science world. There is here, this is what they call Greenwich Mean Time. This is like the 0 point from which they measure all clocks across the Earth, okay? So over here, it's 5 p.m. Pacific time. Over here, it's London time. So what's happening is that they take this axis here as the actual axis of rotation of the Earth. So you could just turn it like this, for example. You know, you turn it like this, but it's, of course, our Earth is round. But if you turn it like that, what they found is that this is the natural orbit. Sorry, this is the natural axis of orbit for the Earth through here. Okay, it spins around like this, but the magnetic pole is off to the side here, which makes it sort of like this, and your magnetic compass will align to the magnetic pole. What they're discovering is that the magnetic pole is shifting, and that's because of stuff happening deep inside planet Earth, where the magma and molten iron are shifting around like sort of blobs of boiling hot jello and molten iron and metals of all kinds. And that makes the Earth kind of a little bit and it affects everything here on Earth. Everything on Earth will be affected by these magnetic pole shifts as they start coming in. We're already tracking them, but it's going to get much stronger over the next, probably, I don't know, 100 years or so. I doubt whether I'll see it, but anyway. So they're already noticing that there's some very scary, weird, tragic stories about migratory animals that depend on the magnetic pole. And if you're born in the last 120 years or so and you're a whale or you're a butterfly or a dolphin or something like that, and your magnetic pole axis, instead of over here, it's over here, and it's changing to here, that's going to screw up your global navigation system. So all the whales that are going around here and here and here and here are getting lost and confused all over here. And you hear all these tragic stories of beached whales over here, over here, over in here, over in here, over here, because they get lost. Their internal compass is out of whack compared to the way they were born. You know, whales live a long time. And you see these stories about shoals of fish just going in circles because they don't know where to go anymore. Their whole compass is skewed. So if those influences could be measured live, real time in nature, imagine what's happening to us, to we the people. You know, I'm just saying, astrology is not just a bunch of mythology and spooky, mysterious stories from thousands of years ago. It's actually a genuine thing. Give me a second. I got to do some homework here. It looks like people are asking. Hold on. Okay, I'm reading through the chat. There's a few folks here, and I got to double check something. I hope this is working. There's some very weird things going on behind the scenes over here that I cannot explain. Okay. Oh, well, looks like we got a couple of readings booked. Thank you very much. And it's already happening, folks. Okay, let me go back over here. I'm just clicking around behind the scenes. Don't worry. We're holding on as strong as we can. All right, first off, let's grab this while we've got it. We have a booking tonight. I've got room for one more booking if anyone's interested. I know it's a small family that we have here. But it makes it cozy and intimate. Thank you very much. Remember the days when we had so many people lined up for mini readings? I would be doing 5 or 6 hour shows. And I'd be completely wiped out. And I had a total burnout. Okay, slight typo, but that's all right. We'll be fine. We will be forgiven. All right, yeah. Let me just, oh gosh, I've got to double check things again. Please be patient. What am I seeing here? Alright, no, I'm not seeing much of anything. Okay. Alright, let's just admit it. We've got technical issues that I cannot fix. That's it. So it looks like people are not getting their notifications. They're not even getting shorts. I can't even find the short. I can't even find this video. So I don't know how anybody even knows that we're here. Or maybe you just guys showed up and just thinking like, oh, you know, wow, mate, let's see if TL's doing a show, you know? Excuse me. There's a lot of allergy stuff going on here and my nose gets really itchy. I'm not a cocaine freak, okay? I've taken my allergy meds and they work well or very well. So let me, sorry, thirsty work here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to the stage over here. Okay, so we already have that. Okay, Gregory Ross booked a reading, and Necessary Truth has booked a reading. Thank you very much. I'll put that over here. So, the point I was trying to get to is this is just like a little weather map. To me, I can see beauty and wonder. I can see terrifying things. And it's all in a day. Just another day in the planets, in the heavens. It just happens to be with these particular alignments, there's a tremendous emphasis on desperation and crisis at the very depths of the soul of Homo sapiens, hominids, the most advanced, apparently, creatures on Earth. Some people might question that. Anyway, you can see it from global behavior. Sorry, I've got to try and speak in such a way where I don't get too controversial or trigger too many bad things with the algorithm. I'm basically doing self-censorship right now, which I don't like to do. And that's how I got into so much trouble, and I'm much safer and happier over on my RUMBLE platform. But it's like we're starting absolutely from scratch. It's like new. I am totally new to the RUMBL platform audience. And some of the folks from YouTube have come over to visit now and again, but it's literally like starting from scratch. It's very unnerving. So I, just like a lot of people, I'm going through my own crises. These points land somewhere in your chart. It may not be a crisis point in your chart, but for the world, this is the world chart, it's a crisis point. Just imagine, there are probably several million little babies who were born today, and this is their birth chart. If they were born with Aries rising, it would look like this if they were born with Taurus rising, like this if they were born with Gemini rising, like this if they were born with Cancer rising, and so on and so on. But that is the astrological grid that's bedded into their personal astrology. And they will carry that through their lifetime, for better or worse. So, for example, if you go to a highly tragic neighborhood over here in the Middle East, that's a classic example of little children that, with their souls born into chaos, desperation, crisis, extreme violence, and war. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, bam. These kids, the ones who survive, they're going to carry that trauma as an imprint for their whole lives. And so you have to be a very, very powerful soul to have deliberately, let's say, chosen to be incarnated in this lifetime in that kind of situation. It might sound absurd, but I believe in past lives and past life regenerations, like we've been here before and we'll be here again. And those little tiny baby souls that are born over here were born to either learn or teach as they grow and mature. There's millions, hundreds of millions of little, very young people over here in the same situation, millions over here, okay? If any of them were born in the last, I don't know, few weeks, they're going to be carrying this inside them. These three here, and it represents absolutely some of the deepest, most profound changes in human experience in hundreds of years, okay? So I was talking to Love Triber earlier today, and the subject was coming up, like, how do people get through all of this stuff? How do people survive through these crises? The United States itself is going through profound crisis, okay? It's like a birthing crisis. For example, in just in human experience, for a woman to give birth to a child, it can be, some women it's just natural, pop, there you go, done. For some women it's life-threatening. It just depends on the situation. It is potentially a life and death situation. Giving birth to a child is probably the most ultimate miracle on this earth. It's the whole way that we as an entity, as a species, get to be here again and keep going. It happens through sexual reproduction, where DNA recombines with other DNA, hopefully in a chance to evolve and improve its core DNA structure by imbibing the new DNA, which never existed before, in the new little infant. And that's the way evolution works. I'm very interested in evolutionary astrology because it's how we evolve and grow. But it takes like a commitment to reincarnate on this earth in order to live through that process, okay? Hello, Love Triber. I didn't see you there. So, yeah, I was conversing with Love Triber about that, and I basically I just did this confiding thing early this morning. And I was saying, like, I have to admit, I'm struggling. I am really, really, really struggling with what's going on. On the other hand, I'm very confused because I'm actually very calm and stable at my deepest core. So I kept thinking, well, okay, so I'm affected just as anyone else by the planets. And what I noted, one, is I'm experiencing extreme rage, extreme hyper rage. May not look it on here, but I own that energy right now, and it's in here, and I'm processing it. Millions of other Americans are also carrying extreme rage, anger, outrage. The other thing I'm feeling is tremendous grief, sadness, fear, and desperation. Again, I'm not going to splatter that all over the world, but it's in there. I can feel it. I know exactly what it is. I've been around the block. I've lived enough years to recognize some of my own behaviors and experience. I know what rage is. I know what desperation is. I know fear. I know panic. I know extreme trauma. I know death. Face on. I know all of these things very, very well, and I acknowledge them. I recognize them. And I was really struggling with words about one of the things that I felt that I never really felt before, which sounds very, very confusing. The only way I could explain it is that, okay, let's define it. I'm feeling the rage, desperation, crisis, anger, traumatized, trapped, bitter, resentful, all these very, very powerful feelings and emotions that just run through you like electricity. And there was one that I could not define. I was really trying to figure out what it is. What is it? There's something else I'm feeling. And I realized, oh, it's simple. It's guilt. I'm feeling guilt. Part of me is feeling extreme guilt. And I kept thinking, why should I feel guilty? I have as much right as anyone to feel all of these horrible things. Rage, anger, depression, desperation, crisis, trauma. I'm like millions of other Americans going through the same thing in their own version of it. But the other layer I couldn't understand. It took me hours to figure out. And I realized, oh, it's guilt. But why? Why do I feel guilty? What have I done that's really, really shameful? What have I done to hurt other people? I've lived a life that is mostly about helping other people. I can't help it. I'm a bit of a compassion junkie like a lot of the people that come to this channel. They just can't help it. I know in one of my very recent past lives, I was in World War II. I was in the front lines on the battlefields. I was a nurse aide. I was a frontline hospital medic type of character. I lived in such a way that I felt I was utterly bulletproof. Nothing could touch me or take me down. I was absolutely fearless into a wall of bullets. It didn't matter. They would never touch me. I could walk into water. I would not drown. I could be swimming in mud and dirt and covered in trees and garbage, explosions, bombs going off. I was untouchable. I would go in there, grab the bodies, pull them out, take them as much as I can, drag them, get help, anything, put them on a stretcher, get some help, and take them back to the medics somewhere. I know that. And for some reason I found great joy. I have a very different lifetime this around. And in some ways I feel, I keep telling myself I'm a very lucky man. I'm a very wealthy man. I'm a very happy man. I'm a very blessed man. And if I wanted to, I could define how and why all of that is true. And yet I feel all those other disgusting, horrible energy feels at the same time. How do you carry that energy of ambivalence inside of you? Well, we do. Ambivalence is a very hard energy to describe or understand. But anyway, that's what I'm carrying. So why the guilt? The guilt is what I realize it's because I feel guilty for being so blessed. I feel guilty, almost ashamed, that I have access to a year's worth of food, really good food. I got access to about a year's worth of water. I've got access to self-defense, very serious capability. I've got access to shelter. I've got access to transportation. I've got access to communications and telecommunications. I've got access to community. I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm rich. And then I realized, oh, that's the guilt. It's because of all those millions of Americans who've lost all that. They've either lost it unwittingly or they've lost it because it was actively stolen. And their lives are being devastated, trashed, demolished. They're being killed off by the thousands and thousands and thousands. And I started to realize, well, some of you also figured out that it's deliberate. That would explain the rage. I'm not going to go into the dark stuff here because this show will just get flagged and shut down. But anyway, the point I was trying to get across is that when I look at the astrology, I can sometimes sense like the big picture, the really deep, profound stuff. But what about the little kind of nuances that just happen, every few hours through the day? Most of that is associated with the movement of Mercury and the moon, because they're the fastest moving. There's the sun, of course. But in terms of, if you think of the sun as the center, like there's you, that's you, your sun sign, and then there's all the other stuff that goes with it, conflicted or harmonious or whatever. But there's your sun. And then that's why we kind of call it out in layers. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. It's basically an indication of how far the planet is outlying there in the solar system. The moon is right next to us, and it's very, very well, let's say, what's the word? Acknowledged that the moon correlates with things like feelings, the tides, emotions, and so on. So I watch the moon. Okay, I watch Mercury. I watch all the planets for different things in different ways. And then I kept looking, well, why today? Why this guilt thing? Why did it take me so long to figure out what the problem was? Again, pretty much every day I have to go through some kind of healing process, self-healing. Otherwise, I end up feeling like crap at the end of the day. And I don't like that. I like to be in a state of serenity, calm, at the end of the day. No excitement, no thrills, no joy, excitement. I don't want that. I don't want misery, crouch. I just want to be content and serene. So I track the astrology for that purpose. For whatever reason, I guess my physical body is highly susceptible to the influence of the planets. And so in order for me not to be completely discombobulated and bounced around by the planets as though you're off-roading in a very, very difficult terrain, I track the planets, and that allows me to navigate through my day as well as possible. So instead of being banged around, things are more, let's say, manageable, navigable, okay? Yeah, the Serenity Prayer, that's very, very powerful. I forgot the words, but it's a very, very powerful prayer. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. That was a very, what I was telling you about the guilt thing is an example of fine-tuning. Like if I reach a point during the day where like, wait a minute, I'm glitching. Why? What is that? I will immediately go to my charts and figure out what's going on. And then I can go, oh, I get it. I always blame the planets. It's up to me how I deal with it, but the influence is very powerful from the planets. And what I also realize is that not everybody does what we do here. I don't know anybody who checks their astrology every day. I really don't. I mean, you've probably noticed that there's only a tiny handful of us here because we care. We are aware. You guys out there who are watching and listening, you guys are aware of what I just described. But what I just described actually applies to everybody on Earth, whether they like it or know it or not. And it's a question of how do you deal with those energy fields. I call it energy management. I don't try to spiritualize it or turn it into some mythological yoga type cult thing or anything. It's just energy. And how do you manage that energy? It's up to you. You have to own it. Anyway, there we are. Let me just go, Victor! By the way, in case everybody didn't notice it, a few weeks ago, Victor did a disclosure. I thought he was all about the money, right? Because I talk about money before I got squashed on this platform, and I've moved over to the RUMBLE platform. And Victor is basically one of us. He's an advanced, multifaceted healer. There you go. Some of you might remember James Helen, Mona Berkness, Robin's Realms readings, Love Triber, Necessary Truth is a psychic medium, Gregory Ross does his own tarot readings, and so on and so on. Elizabeth Boucher does her own readings now and again. Tina Miller sometimes shows up, and she is a healer in her own right too. But she's in the point now where she needs healing, you know. the nurse becomes the patient. I wrote a book about that. It's not published, but anyway. Oh, you did? Oh, hello, Elizabeth. Hold on there. I got to put that down. I just saw that, Elizabeth. Okay, that's it. So we're booked up for tonight. All right, Elizabeth, you're going to get your magic Post-it note. There you go. So there we go. We got our readings booked for the evening. We'll come to that in a moment. So these are the ephemeris data points that I use to create this. And I'm going to do a very, very short little story here. Basically, this is very, very warlike, okay? Extreme. Mars is under extreme pressure. So it goes both ways. If you're the one under attack, what are you going to do? Fight or flight. If you are the perpetrator attacking, what are you going to do? How are you going to attack people or relationships? The reason there's so much, right now, humanity is waking up to the realization that we as a species have reached a point of realization where we have to acknowledge that we've been living under a delusion of the integrity of our relationships. We have to have relationships in order for the species to survive, but people are starting to realize, my God, a lot of my relationships are really screwed up. Maybe it's friends and family, but fundamentally I see it at the depths of the soul of Homo sapiens here. And the fundamental relationships are to do with what happens when you get in a relationship, and that is the merger into the 8th house of shared energy, where you literally merge energy, where one person merges with another, where one person sticks their money in a bank, and that money goes to the bank, and then that money takes your money and plays with it, and they give you something in return called interest, like a couple of points if you save money and so on. Or more likely, they'll take, you give your money over there thinking like, wow, I gotta save my money. And then the folks over there in the big banking world, they take your money and go, ha ha ha, sucker. Oh, dear depositor, have you looked at our menu lately? You might need a new credit card. Have you considered buying another car? We can get you the loan. How about your house? Let's get you set up with a proper house payment. Let's get you set up with just good old-fashioned credit cards so you can get whatever you want whenever you want it. Miracles, right? And you think, wow, that's amazing. And then years later, you start to realize, oh my God, I'm choking to death on debt, because I trusted and believed in these relationships with these people. Ta-da! So that's where we are today. I told you, when we see Venus opposing Uranus close to the degrees of crisis, we're going to see global financial chaos. And it's a... Oh, Heather, hello. I'm just reading through the notes here. All right. Well, I'm just checking through the notes. Sorry. So I talk about this much more on my Rumble, but this axis here represents deep crisis in the global financial system, and it's going to get worse as Uranus moves from here to here. Okay? But right now, tonight, I'm starting to see, just exactly as I knew would happen weeks ago, I've been sitting waiting for these major headlines to come across the deep financial world, and there they are. China is imploding live, real time. It's very bad over there. Mr. Xi Jinping, the boss of Chinese Communist Party, is telling the world that it's great and you all need to invest in China. Meanwhile, he's pumping the currency, pumping, telling the Chinese people, buy more cars, TVs, houses, buy a second house, take out another credit card, spend your money now. Oh, let's boost the, let's flood the market with stimulus and so that you can go speculate on the stock market. 48 hours later, trillions and trillions of yuan, like dollars, are sucked out of the pockets of the poor, innocent Chinese citizen into the banking vaults of the Chinese Communist Party. Oh dear. Crisis for the Chinese people. That's just one aspect. It's an enormous crisis, and it's going to have a very deep long-term impact on the whole world. China is going through a very deep implosion. At the same time, the United States is at war with China. This is major warfare. This is the currency war between the Chinese yuan and the American dollar, and vice versa. I don't want to go into it much more here, but it's extremely acutely marked on the charts like I knew it would be weeks ago when we talked about it over here with Venus's months ago over here. And we are here today, and it's now headlines. Basically, Jerome Powell from the United States Federal Reserve is lying his face off, along with the federal government, about how amazing everything is in America. Believe me, it's not. So that's just examples from what we're seeing here. I'll keep this chart handy, but meanwhile, we got to do the tarot readings. Okay? So that's it. Just a little glimpse of astrology, and we're going to head to the tarot. All right. Okay, let's put this all away for now. And we'll tidy up here. Get set to do your tarot readings. Actually, you know what? I think what we're going to have to do is... Alright, let's do this. I'm going to put this away here. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna need more time to get ready here. Give me a second, folks. All right. Hello, Rosario. You have a point there. You absolutely have a point. It's interesting because you brought up something that I never really thought about till you just mentioned it. But as you know, astrology is shrouded in like mythology about all these, creatures up in the heavens, and they have names, fancy names, and all the storylines. Oh, good things happen, bad things happen. Jupiter is all about luck. Saturn's all about pain and suffering. And yeah, all of that kind of stuff. I don't really worship the planets. I just acknowledge that they're out there, and I look at it from the perspective of basic, I would just call it observation and science. Just basically, how else to describe it? In other words, okay, there's a mountain out the back window over here. In the morning, it's called sunrise, and sometimes I go out to watch the dawn, and that mountain is big, and it blocks the sun. And then the sun comes up, and I see it shift through the day, and then it sets, okay? These are facts. They're very straightforward, and it's all trackable with physics and so on. It's been going for 4.5 billion years, on and off. And then I think, well, okay, the other night I was watching Jupiter, and I saw the moon close by. Then I saw Venus. And then, okay, there's the moon doing its thing. And that's about all I can see. I don't have micro telescopes or anything like that. But anyway, I think, well, how to describe it? You see, when I was a kid, okay, Rosario, when I was a kid, I studied maths, chemistry, biology, physics, and astrophysics. I couldn't help myself. That's what I studied when I was a little kid, and my dad bought me a telescope and everything. And I've sort of been fascinated ever since. I've never really had a big, real telescope. I wouldn't mind one day. But you have to be way, way out in the desert somewhere where there's no sky pollution, light pollution, to see anything at all. So when when I look at the planets, I look at it from the point of physics, geomagnetic influence, gravitational pull, and the effect of one planet on another, and then up to our physical bodies here on Earth, because we're made out of biological components that are effectively, atoms, neutrons, protons, and connected by electromagnetic energy. And so everything's swirling in electromagnetic energy, whether we see it or not. There's 5G electric communication towers. There's electricity in your wires. There's electricity in your phones. There's electricity on the computers in the stage over here. I've got multiple, all of that's flowing around. There's electricity in the atmosphere of the Earth. Sometimes it lights up with auroras because of the solar flares. And electricity is just a word for a certain type of energy. There's light. We have what's called visible light, but there's other types of frequencies that we can't see with our eyes. I just look at it through the lens of physics. However, human beings tend to interpret those energies in terms of their emotions and their feelings. And they create mythologies and stories to account for it all. And so that's kind of how I factor it. That's the lens that I kind of use. There's some channel. Good angel, good point. Okay, anyway, so necessary. We're going to do your reading now. Let's have a look. No one's ever brought that up before, Rosario, and I'm kind of glad you did. It gave me a chance to clarify my situation here. Let me just shuffle a little bit more. So now, necessary, you said you had a question that's more about your astrology. Is that correct? Let me have a look, see if I can understand it, okay? I don't know. Let's have a look here. Sorry. Okay. Hey, Rosario, I gotta tell you another funny story. You're not gonna believe this, but anyway, I'm just gonna share it very, very quickly. And then we'll go to your reading, okay? Necessary? Hello, Rosario. This is TarotLumination. Thanks for visiting. I was raised in a very, very strict manner. A lot of it backfired very, very badly. I was, like, say, over-infused with religion and things like that, so I'm one of your classic people who kind of walked away and rejected. And I just created my own sort of perspectives. And I never really thought about Jesus much, and I was trained to read the Bible, learn the Bible, and stuff like that. And I always thought, this kind of, it's like, oh God. It's hardly legible, readable for me. I got indigestion. I was a little kid. I wanted to go out and play and cause mischief, ride my bicycle. I didn't want to sit around reading a Bible. Anyway, so I kind of walked away from all of that. But I still used to go to church a lot because I liked to pray and I liked to be inside the serenity of all these churches where I would visit. And then here I am, decades later in life, trying to, again, recalibrate my perspective on the world, wondering about, how do these people all get in touch with Jesus and all these natural disasters like in Helena over in North Carolina and Florida, and people turn to Jesus. Well, what is it? I mean, he died, and 3 days later he went up to heaven in a big sparkly tube of light or something. and so on and so on. I'm absolutely convinced that he was a gentleman of very great significance, and he changed the world, absolutely for sure. And I kept thinking, like, why does everybody believe in this stuff? It just sounds like mythology and a way to create like a safety shell about all the things you don't understand in the world. Turn to Jesus. What would Jesus do? And then I was sitting doing my early morning business, just there, just another day. I'd hardly even looked at my charts yet. I was sitting down, pondering life and the universe, just like everybody does when you're doing your business. And then I felt this big, warm, powerful hand on my shoulder. And I kind of went, who's that? And I realized, who's that? Someone's here sitting. Why would anyone want to sit with me here in the restroom? And I was kind of surprised because I heard this voice, and the voice said, basically, listen, man, I'm here with you anyway. Okay? I know you're confused about these things, and you have perspectives, and you're perfectly entitled to that. I understand all of that, so I don't blame you, and so on and so on. All the horrible things that you had to endure. It's not fair, it's not right, but I love you anyway. I'm here, even if you don't believe in me absolutely. You don't have to. I'm still here anyway. I love you anyway. And I went, what? And I looked more closely, and I could see it very clearly. Oh, it's this guy. He's got a white robe. He's got fairly long hair, and he's wearing sandals. I thought, fuck, it's Jesus. Holy shit. And then he went, yep. And then he went away. Cut. So there you go. I just wanted to share that. Yeah. So anyway, right, necessary. What are the notes again? I got... let's have a look here. I got to check through the notes to see what necessary was on about. Okay, I can't quote the Bible, so don't expect me to do so. Let's see. I guess the question is... Okay, I found it. Let me have a look here. It says here, I guess the question is, being ruled by so many planets in Jupiter, but my natal Jupiter is actually retrograde when I was born, how should I engage with Jupiter retrograde energy now, today? Oh, that's a fantastic question. Well, let's have a look. Very, very good question. So here's another way to look at it. Let's look at the retrogrades in general, okay? Almost everybody's born with a planet retrograde somewhere. So right now, any child, infant born today, right now, will have this chart, and they will be born with Jupiter retrograde, Taurus retrograde, Neptune retrograde, and Saturn retrograde. And then they will have to live their life and figure that out. How do you do with that? A lot of people are familiar with Mercury retrograde. And I often say with retrogrades, whatever can go wrong will go wrong regarding that retrograde in that planet with that sign in that house. Okay? So for you, I'm not going to do deep astrology necessary, but for you, before we even do the cards, what I'm suggesting is that if you're natural, you've got a lot of planets in Jupiter, but your natal Jupiter is actually retrograde when you're born, what you do is take advantage of it, because typically, like if you're a person born with Mercury retrograde, you have to find ways to figure it out very quickly from birth, and so you do. So what happens in Mercury retrograde people is that they often thrive or shine during the retrograde periods, while everyone else who has regular Mercury direct, they're suffering. And you excel, like you would be very good at cleaning up anything and everything that goes wrong with Mercury. Same thing with Jupiter retrograde. So with Jupiter retrograde naturally in your chart, dealing with Jupiter direct because it's about a 1-year cycle, will have chapters every phase, every quarter. Stress point, stress point, stress point, stress point, till the Jupiter return. Now with Jupiter retrograde, you're still going to have stress points each time it goes round. But with the retrograde, it's like you're gifted with an opportunity to understand, like say, things that have been shrouded in the way people take things for granted regarding truth, justice, wisdom, the blessings of the universe, a lot of stuff that we take for granted. That's what you would call the good stuff, the sweet stuff, luck, good fortune, being blessed. When with Jupiter retrograde, it can often feel like, oh my God, I'm fucking cursed, man. I'm cursed, damn it. And then eventually, as you mature into it, you realize, well, in your own way, you're blessed, but you're figuring out what is wrong with my, let's say you're here to learn what's wrong with my blessings. How am I misinterpreting or not appreciating or understanding my blessings? Am I abusing my blessings? Have my best blessings been abused? Have someone taken advantage of me? Have I gorged on my blessings? Have I taken my blessings for granted? That's probably the biggest issue with Jupiter retrograde. So with Jupiter retrograde, you can take this period, it's going to last for quite a while, to enjoy like revelations every now and again. You're going to realize, oh my God, I really am lucky, but in my own unique way, which doesn't necessarily match with what I was hoping I would call a luck. So it's like re-understanding, recalibrating the Jupiter energy to account for reality, your personal reality. And the only way to find out is by living through a lifetime where you have, by birth, chosen a retrograde. So there, I hope that helps a little bit. Okay, I got to go all the way back to the beginnings of the chats here. Wait a minute. All right, let's have a look. So, how do you deal with the planets, with all this Jupiter stuff, especially while it's going Jupiter retrograde? Well, let's have a look. What kind of messages do we have here today, tonight, for Necessary Truth regarding that matter of her natural natal-born Jupiter retrograde? What's the best way to deal with that? Make the most of it, so to speak, now that it's here. That's a very, very healthy way to look at it. Okay. Okay. All right, here we go. We're just going to cut it up, and then we're going to read. I don't do any reversals. I'm not doing any oracles, no jumpers, flyers, nothing like that. I'm keeping it super hyper simple. This is my own custom spread. After thousands of readings, I only have 3 spreads. This one I do in public. The other 2 big ones I do in private. All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges, and here's how we're going to handle things. Let's have a look at the external influences. Multiple versions of Jupiter, for example. So you've got the devil aspect over here. So my feeling is that you might feel it as though you're wrestling with, like, being pulled in multiple different directions regarding, I don't know how to say it without making it sound challenging or difficult, but we kind of get married to our own perceptions of ourselves. And once we think we've figured out who we are, they kind of go, well, that's me. That's how I am. That's who I am. And then we have to have sometimes a sharp reminder, no, it's not quite that way. Yes, you're born with a specific chart, but all day, every day, we are evolving and growing, either in a fluent, comfortable, joyful way, or in a very, very challenging way. It's perpetual. It never, never stops. Evolution never stops. And so with the Devil card here, my feeling is that it's a very big, gentle, but powerful reminder that there's no point in getting stuck in your ways or your belief systems to the point of absolutism. In other words, so I have to be flexible? Yeah. Well, you know, what do they call it? Jupiter is one of the planets that is the flexible crowd. Like this is Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo. What's the astrology word for it? The mutables. They have to be able to shift and change very easily. So if you look at your chart, you might find that you've got some, you know, like if you've got a lot of Jupiter, in order to evolve and grow, you might be challenged, for example, with bits and pieces in Pisces and Virgo, which will create stressful aspects to all the Jupiter, for example. And instead of taking it as like, I'm cursed, damn, it's like, oh, this is an opportunity to grow and evolve. Oh, okay. The uncomfortable feelings would come from feeling that you're trapped and it's not fair and you're not getting the good fortune and the wonderful luck that you feel you deserve from so much Jupiter influence. When in fact, you're already blessed. And then you have to kind of go, oh, so I am bound by my own limited beliefs. Oh, okay. Remember, Jupiter, Sagittarius, belief systems, wisdom, knowledge, higher knowledge, the study of philosophy, the study of truth, the study of, you know, the advanced sciences, the advanced esoteric stuff, you know. And then you have to own that energy and then be flexible with it and basically share the fortune, share the good fortune. Okay, so let's have a look here. What's the situation itself? This is just what's going in the background, kind of reinforcing what I just talked about earlier with Jupiter and retrogrades in general. Okay, let's have a look here. Okay, so with the Chariot energy, this is interesting because you might actually feel a bit of a surge right now. With Jupiter going retrograde, I don't know what you are to which degree, but if you're born with Jupiter retrograde, wherever it is in the chart, whatever house, whatever, Jupiter retrograde, and we're just entering a Jupiter retrograde period, you might feel this as a surge, almost like, you know, when a wave picks up, it's just like, and it's like sometimes hard to understand if you're not used to it. Because we don't get Jupiter retrograde that frequently. Like Mercury retrograde, we get it 3 times a year. But Jupiter retrograde is much more spread out, so you might not be accustomed or used to or prepared in advance for a Jupiter retrograde when it's here. But it's actually a very good time for you to kind of go spiritually surfing, like ride the big wave, seize the moment. If you look at the Chariot card there, imagine that's you, and I don't know if you're a surfer or not. I'm not a surfer, but imagine if you're a surfer and you're looking around, you realize, oh my God, this is great surf weather. I got to get my stuff together. I got to get my ski-doo buddies out there, out in the water, ready to haul me into the big waves. I got to get myself pumped up. I got to do some fitness exercises, pump some weights, get myself trim and ready to go. And then I'm going to jump in the water and roll with it, baby. Because this is going to be a time for me to evolve. It's to me, I look at this as a really good opportunity for you, okay? Okay, necessary? So it might catch you by surprise. It almost might mean like the energy is overwhelming, but it's good for you, and it's important that you grab the wave while it's here. Do not just wander around in a state of oblivion. What are the challenges here? Okay, you might be new to seeing things in this way that I just described and realizing, oh my God, there's always so much to learn. It never, ever, ever, ever stops. Well, welcome to the Jupiter world. It's the never-ending quest for more knowledge and wisdom, going out to the beyond and the great beyond and way out into the stratosphere and even further to the end of the solar system. Wow. Wow. And then you go to bed at night, you think, God, sometimes I feel so pathetic and weak and little, just little me. I didn't realize I knew so little about my life and my world. And I don't want to be constantly having to feel like I'm evolving and growing like TarotLumination says. I want to be there already. I know it's a bit naive, but that's what I want. I wish I could just be there automatically, just be awesomely, magically, powerful, spontaneously, Jupiter lucky, automatically, all the time. Poor me, poor me. Okay, so how are we going to deal with that? This is not a tragedy, okay? Don't worry about it. Moving forward. Okay, we got 6 of Pentacles here. So let's just say, like for a lot of people right now in America, they are waking up and coming to the realizations of stark realities about their personal finances, but also about global finances. And it is a mutable subject. The money is fluid. It's moving in and out, traveling around the world. It's a currency. It's a current. You know, it's like electricity, like a current of energy. It flows. And so with the 6 of Pentacles here, my feeling is that the way forward is to, number 1, understand that you are incredibly blessed already. You have a lot of resources available to you that you have earned in this lifetime and previous lifetimes. And there will be moments when you are called upon to share that with others. And there will be moments when you look in the mirror and you realize, every now and again I need help. And that's okay. It's just what we're doing here tonight. Okay? You're getting a mini tarot reading from TarotLumination, and that'll throw light on the subject. And so with the Jupiter retrograde journey for you, necessary truth, this is a great opportunity. That's a Jupiter word. Opportunity to expand and grow in your learning of what it really means to have Jupiter retrograde from birth. Think of it as a blessing, okay? You're going to have a chance to learn things that a lot of people won't ever learn in that lifetime because they weren't born with Jupiter retrograde. But, so there you go. I hope that helps you. Generosity and kindness. You know, magnanimous. Jupiter is very, very magnanimous. Spread the luck. Spread the fortune. Share it. Be loving, be loved. Think of yourself. You're a very lucky person. You're a very wealthy person. You're a very happy person. You're a very blessed person. You got all that. You've got all that already. And it's a question, how are you going to integrate with the rest of the world? Like sharing your bounty, your wisdom, your knowledge. And every now and again, you are able to receive. Okay? Right now, you're receiving that energy from TarotLumination. So everything is perfectly balanced. And the chains are effectively loose. Okay, like, freedom. Oh, very, very, very cool. Jupiter loves freedom. All right, there's your mini reading. I hope that helps you, necessary. All right, so we got to move on. We got 2 more readings to do. So, how are we going to do this? Okay, I got Gregory Ross, and then I have Elizabeth Boucher. So, Elizabeth, you're going to have to be patient because I have to read for Gregory. And you can catch your reading later if you need to on the playback, assuming you can find it on YouTube anymore. But in the meantime, I'm going to have to give myself a little mini break here while we set things up for the next next reading. Here we go. So I'm going to move along here now. Okay, so yeah, Gregory, you're up. I don't know if you're here, but you'll of course catch it on the recording. So I don't see a lot of notes, in which case I'm going to do a completely blind reading if you're okay with that. And usually that's pretty much what we do anyway, so I'm just going to do that as a default. Sorry, I'm just juggling. I'm trying to organize myself here. There's a lot of stuff I have to organize just to keep myself fluent here to do the show. All right. Oh boy. I hope I got the strength to keep going here. Alright, let's have a look. Alright. Alright, here we go. Dear Gregory, thanks for being here. Thanks for being my buddy and part of our community for so many years and supporting me over that time. Spreading the love, sharing the love, all of that good stuff. I know you've had some pretty much everybody who comes here has had some really brutal experiences recently. I mean, over 7 or 8 years, it's bound to happen at some point, but it's been very, very hard for some people recently. I know Tina's having a really tough time. She's putting on a very, very strong resistance to all the challenges. All right, let's have a look. So, Mr. Ross, let's have a look. What kind of messages do we have here for you tonight? I know you've been dealing with a lot of matters regarding clients, bankruptcy issues, real estate, all the legal matters in your world, your environment, the entanglements, having to be like a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like, since we've been working together, there's this consistent pattern of integrity and the demand for honesty and truth, unrelenting demand for honesty and truth, which of course inevitably brings you straight into the face of the worst perpetrators you can imagine. The people who walk around with fancy, cars and suits and ties and robes and hats and official titles and everything, and then only to discover that they are despicable people. They're not even human. All right, so let's put it all back together and see what happens here. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things. And let's check out external influences. Okay, so we have the Emperor here. I've got two stories immediately that came to me with this one. It's to me, it feels very explicit, very strong, unambiguous, like a very, very powerful, blunt message. The Emperor message here is for you is like, there is no time, there's no excuse. It is time for you to be the boss of you 100%, not 70 or 80, not in any way that is, let's say, self-derogatory now and again when it's convenient. In other words, I have to lower myself to accommodate this asshole over here, or that jerk, or that situation over here. No, it's at the time. It's where you're at a point now where you kind of have to stand strong and unambiguously strong to the point where it's just oozing out of your aura, where it's literally this: when people encounter you, or when you encounter people, they see or sense different energy fields. Okay, you might want to think of it as an aura. Think of it as an aura field. And this is around you. This is for you. It's sending energy to you. Let's say the universe is asking you to receive and own this very powerful message and incorporate it into your system, your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul as an energy field. And then own it. And it's about power and being in your power. So like when you are just living your life, you wake up, you get up, you go out, you do groceries, you have to deal with an adversary, you have to do a formal thing in a courtroom, or you have to meet up a friend and a buddy or whatever it is. It's like you are now commanded. Like it's like your archangels, your guardian angels are basically saying, Gregory, it is time. It is time to stand in your full power. And it's not your problem how others deal with that. So if you're with a group of people or in a situation and you're radiating your aura, the Emperor aura, don't be shy. Why would you be? And if someone can't handle that, that's their problem. Okay? On the other hand, if you're radiating the aura energy of the Emperor, and someone recognizes that and they kind of go, man, Gregory, I'm so glad to have you in my life. Like, there's no one else like you that I know. Because you are like a rock with those elements I described earlier, like integrity, honesty, truth, determination, standing up for those who can't speak for themselves, and so on and so on. You have those characteristics. We all know that here on this channel. So it's kind of it's an ambivalence or energy. It's like, how do you carry the energy simultaneously? Like, if some people might think you're an absolute major grade piece of derogatory, the lowest form of organic existence, if that's their opinion, you can still just quite comfortably and affordably go, oh, I'm sorry, you can't handle that. And you don't have to apologize or anything. And the same thing if you're people who appreciate and understand the Emperor energy for what it is. It's very, very bountiful, it's powerful, it's strong, it's almost infinitely generous and kind. But it does not waver in its power. It does not apologize for being in its power. And that energy just would come out of you in the form of an aura. And you can own it by invocation. Okay? So you would pray for that energy to infuse you, and then you can walk around that throughout the day. Some people might look at you and like, oh my God, Greg, you had a bad day, right? It doesn't matter, because you're in the Emperor energy. You can still kind of, so what? Everybody has a bad day. Or like someone might say, wow, Gregory, you're looking great today. Wow, what happened, man? It's just like, oh, it's just another day. I'm in my power, man. You know. So, there we go. That's surrounding you. It's big, it's powerful, it's benevolent. It's almost like God talking to you. Basically saying, come on, Gregory, come on, come on. Get into your power, stay in your power, do not apologize for being in your power. Do not abuse your power, of course. There's nothing worse than the Emperor energy gone bad. That turns into the energy of the demonic dictator, the tyrant. Okay? You're not that person. You're the benevolent Emperor. There's nothing more beloved. I mean, I remember my brother told me this. He's a very successful, very hyper-intelligent guy. And he was telling me, in terms of history, the thing that populations love, whether you're from prehistoric times, Roman times, the Ottoman Empire, whatever, people, the thing they love most about rulership, leadership, is a benevolent dictator. Okay? But it's better not to think of it as the dictator. I'm just saying as a little addendum to the story. All right, so what's the situation? Let's have a look here. Okay, so you might be confused by the situation because this is very direct, this is very blunt, this is very unambiguous energy, and you might be swirling around in yourself with yourself, wondering, what is this thing? Well, okay, thanks, TarotLumination, for describing what you described, but how exactly am I supposed to own that? How am I supposed to incorporate that into my being? How am I supposed to deal with it when I am confronted with situations where I feel less than my awesomest, most awesome self? Oh, I don't know, man. And it gets confusing. My feeling here is I think it's something you've been struggling with. I think we've shared that. I don't want to talk too much about it here, but it's so easy to, number one, kind of get lost in daydreams and expectations, almost fantasies, and also into escapist type behavior. Like some people, I don't do that much anymore, but I was very much an alcoholic without knowing it. I was a smoker without really knowing it, and so on and so on. And I've struggled with addictions, okay? I don't really have that struggle anymore. I've kind of overcome them, but it was a lifelong battle, and circumstances changed, and I had to deal with it. And so right now you might be feeling like, hey, TarotLumination, whatever you're saying about the Emperor, for me right now is just, I wish, if only, if only, if only, because maybe this is my reality right now. I am completely up in the clouds cuckoo about who I am, what I'm doing, where I'm going, why, what is the meaning of life, what's the purpose of life, well, where did my dreams and ambitions go? Am I delusional, or am I so closely connected with the divine that I can't really discern my reality? Some people are naturally very inclined to be very, very close to heaven. They have a natural affinity with the heavenly realms, so to speak, and the closer and closer and closer you get to those realms, typically it means you're farther and farther and farther away from physical, earthly, material, 3D reality. And it's a struggle. Lots of people have come to this channel who are like that. If you're wrapped in, if you're a tarot reader, an alternative energy healer, a remote energy healer, a hands healer, what we do here, some kind of person, and you are you're working with very, very high frequency energies. Sometimes it's very hard to operate in the three-dimensional world, like, oh, how do I pay my bills? How do I collect my what I'm due? How do I do collections? Oh God, I forgot to eat lunch. Oh, I forgot to have dinner. Oh my God, I forgot to balance my finances this month. And it becomes a swirl, and then it becomes, you know what, it's like so difficult to do all that 3D stuff. I hate doing all that 3D stuff. I just want to be up here dealing with the beauties and wonders of heaven and the universe and goodness. Oh man. So there's a chasm here, okay, up at the 5, 7, 11 frequencies, and then down at 3D over here, there's sometimes an amazing gap, and then we have to navigate, I remember I was kind of having a very short conversation with James von Prague. You might have heard of James von Prague. He's one of the most successful, wealthy, capable psychic mediums on earth. He's not in the media much today, but years ago he was. And he's probably living a more quiet life now, more to do with teaching perhaps, I don't know. But one of the things that he would struggle with is having to operate in a three-dimensional world when you're built to be a psychic antenna, dealing with the hyper frequencies of psychic mediumship and connection with the divine, with the intangible parts of world. It's a huge, huge gap. And there were chapters of life where it's very, very hard for him to navigate. Am I going insane? That happens to a lot of psychic mediums. When they start coming into their strength, they feel like they're going insane, because the psychic energy becomes so powerful and it becomes so disorienting. Like, what was that? I just felt something. Like, oh, what is that vision I'm having? Is that remote viewing? Did I just see Jesus? Oh, did I just get a flash of inspiration of, clairvoyance, clairsentience? What is all that stuff? It's difficult to navigate. Very, very difficult. All right, so what are the challenges here? It makes me feel as like you want to get rid of all the stuff that's not working. But it's very, very hard to do. In other words, there's a little part of you that realizes like, damn it, damn it, damn it. I am my own worst enemy. I can have this. I own this. I am that awesome. I am this powerful. That's why I'm so deeply feared in my hometown with those people who are in absolute control and power, who are so corrupt. They are terrified of me because I am the embodiment of this. Yeah. That's the do not fuck with me card. Okay? And yet in day-to-day life, it's actually quite tricky, because there are, when you're in the downtime, when you're not in the battlefield of life, you want rest and peace and serenity, cuddles, happiness, security. And then having to go back to three-dimensional reality, it's a huge chasm, having to navigate back and forth every day, back and forth. And there's this feeling with the Queen of Swords here. I wish it was easier. I wish I could just systematically, one by one, surgically remove all these distractions, delusions, challenges, addictions, fantasies, expectations, hopes, dreams, wishes that are, let's say, not 100% connected with my three-dimensional reality. If only, if only, if only. And then it's very, very simple. And in a way, the reading is very simple. It's just like, damn it, I know I am my own worst enemy. I know I am the only one who could do this. Let's say for let's say smoking or something. Like if you're a cigarette smoker, like no one can stop you from smoking except you. And the only way that could happen is if somebody who loved you locks you up in a room for a year and feeds you with the food and water you need, but no cigarettes. But as soon as they open the door, you're going to want a cigarette. So you end up having to be the person who solves the problem. You have to be the one who quits and stops all those things. It's very, very hard to do, especially for anyone who might have an addictive personality. I'm not saying you do, but this could be very emblematic of someone who might have an addictive personality, and realizing it's very, very hard sometimes to deal with an addictive personality. If you're born that way, how do I reduce and cut those addictions back? Let's have a look. It's almost like, okay, with the Knight of Cups here, it sounds very, very simplistic. It's just like, I have to be nice to myself. You see, these are Cups energy, and this is Cups energy, and it's basically about love, the very, very high frequency energies that I was talking about earlier, the healing power of love. If you think of it as like an energy field that can be moved with your hands, your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul, so that you kind of own it, like this swirling, beautiful energy of the healing power of love. And you're realizing, I am the boss of me. No one else is the boss of me. I am not allowed to allow anyone to be the boss of me. I cannot blame anyone in the world for my problems except me. I am the one who has to separate and divorce myself from any of these debilitations that are self-imposed. And how do I do that? Oh, it sounds very platonic here, but I have to love myself more. How do I do that? That's a little more tricky. Doing that would be something very subtle but very kind, like realizing like, oh man, I'd love another drink, or I'd love another smoke or something. I don't know what addictions or challenges or delusions we're talking about here. Wishful thinking or something like that perhaps. And then with the Knight of Cups, the realization is like, all these retrogrades, now I realize it. I am slipping into this world, which is detrimental to this. I'm the only one who can fix it, so I have to heal it by being very kind and loving to myself, admitting to myself, yes, I have certain fragilities, weakness, desires, wishes, and they may or may not be fulfilled. I may or may not deserve them. But somehow or other, I'm going to find a way to be more kind to myself, more loving to myself. It might be extremely hard to do because this is a very powerful energy field here. If it's matching this one in reverse, so to speak, equal and opposites, type of energy. So ultimately, this is almost like a weapon. It's the healing power of love applied to yourself by yourself. Okay, you could treat yourself like if you've got a loving relationship, companion, for example. I think we talked about that a while ago, where you can express love and bring love. Then guess what? We go back to what I talk about all the time. Be loving. And then guess what happens? It's a reciprocal. Maybe not perfect timing, but be loving, be loved. Be loving, be loved. And now what does that look like? It means being in your power here, and then if you're feeling these ripples pull at you and take you into your state of less than power or weakness or fragility, then it's like, aha, I recognize that. I'm actually slipping into my own quagmire. I am the author of my own demise. Snap out of it. Wake up, Gregory. Slap, clap, clap. Look in the mirror, Gregory. Wake up. I am the author of my own demise. I am going to heal this by being kind and loving to myself. What would that look like? I would like to bring kindness and loving to another, because that brings love to me. So maybe it's very esoteric energy. It's very, very, I don't have honestly, Gregory, at this moment with this reading, this feels like it needs to be extended on another time, another day. We can talk about that. But for tonight, it all condenses down to the simple formula, be loving, be loved. But in the context of you in this reading, it's for you. You're perfectly fine. Okay? It's just that we're at this kind of crisis, very, very simplistic crisis point, like where it's just like, oh my God, it really is true. I understand what you're saying, TL. I'm the one causing my own demise here by allowing myself to indulge in things that are not worthy of me, that don't make sense. And I'm the only one who can cure that, but I don't want to do it because sometimes I'd rather be in this world than in this world. It's understandable if you're very, very connected to love, the healing power of love. It's hard to do. It's really, really hard to do. Love thyself. Remember, it's on the front page of my website and everything. It's one of the hardest things to do. Love thyself. How do you do that unapologetically? How do you do that when you might feel shame or guilt or anger or rage or revenge or something horrible? It's very, very hard to do. It's understandable. It's a simple reading, but it's not easy. Okay? Be loving, be loved. It's easy for me to say that. Okay? So hang in, all right, Gregory? Okay, we got to read for Elizabeth now. That's your reading, Gregory. I hope this helps you some way, somehow. All right, I need to shuffle up again. All right. Elizabeth, thanks for visiting. Thanks for dropping by. Brace yourself. Might want to sit on your hands. Get a glass of water. Do some deep breathing. Just a funny little story before we get going here. Yesterday I watched a movie called Men Who Stare at Goats. I saw it a long time ago, shared it again. And it's basically a kind of bizarre story about remote viewing. Remote viewing is very closely aligned with things like psychic mediumship, speaking with the dead, connecting with your pets and animals from the beyond after someone has passed over, things like that. But remote viewing is live, real time, and it's basically like clairvoyance, but it's very specialized and targeted, and it was used and abused in America in the military system under the PSYOPs types of military weaponization of psychic power. And so this story was a dramatization, a very kind of dark comedy dramatization. And there were all sorts of scenes in the movie where I was kind of going, yep, it's just like that. It's just like that. The movie was based on a book written by some guy who obviously had experience with remote viewing. And then, of course, the screenwriter and the producer and the director, they embellished it and turned it into a live movie drama. And it had George Clooney as the star, and then Ewan McGregor as one of the other stars. It had Kevin Spacey as one of the other stars. And who was the other guy? There was one other in there. Oh, Jeff Bridges. A-listers from decades ago. Anyway, it was just wonderful to see some of the imagery and the way the storyline was developed, and how they were weaving the experience of remote viewing into the storytelling, and how it can be very, very, very hard on the psyche to understand it and incorporate it and own it in your system. It's very, very hard, because if you're not careful, if you don't know what's happening, you feel like you're going insane. Literally, you feel like you're going insane, because you can like close your eyes. You don't even have to close your eyes. You can see it like a movie unfolding in front of you. My dear friend Love Triber used to get me to play games with this YouTube channel that specializes in remote viewing. And every now and again they would hold competitions like, okay, we're going to put this little thing in a box somewhere. And in about a month from now, we're going to collect all the entries and see who got the closest. And I would kind of go, oh no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But I did it anyway. And I never nailed it perfectly, but I got so close. The reason I never nailed it perfectly is because, number one, I didn't really want to do it in the first place. And number two, I was doubting my abilities, because I haven't done it effectively for a long time. I've done it before, and I almost did it as a party trick. You know, like, oh, remote viewing. I can't really do it on demand. It only happens through the grace of God. Like in the right time, in the right place, with the right people, for the right reasons, and so on. But it can be turned into a skill, just like we do here with the astrology and the tarot reading, or remote healing, or something like that, or Reiki, or, you know, something like that. Because it's literally just energy. How do you handle energy? With remote viewing, it basically comes through the pituitary gland. That's how I understand it. But you see it visually. So in one example, I was talking with Love Triber. We were joking about one of the competitions, And so I was saying, okay, well, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. So here's what I see. I see a large building, fairly white, looking very formal, like a government building or something. And it's got columns in the front, and there's a big door in the center. There's a gateway. There's some trees around the outside. And then we go inside through the gateway and the door into the large area of the building. And there are lots of like pillar things, which are actually shelves or walls and stuff. And then we go to a singular shelf that has like books displayed on it. And so you start to realize, oh my God, I'm inside a library. Oh, okay. So what am I seeing here? Okay, it's something inside of something. Okay, so it is a book inside a library. Okay, so we figured that out, but what is the more detail? So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to call it out. What I saw was a book with a book cover that looked to me like something spherical with lines going through it, something like this, something like this, something like this, just in the way that it sort of looks when you buy those chocolate orange treats. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They come in a cardboard box about this big, and it looks like an orange when you open it up inside, and the orange is basically a chocolate chopped up into little segments that look like segments of oranges wrapped in bright orange tin foil. And so that's what I saw. I saw something fairly glossy with something circular and lines going through it, sort of like this. And I said, okay, that's that. And then I drew it all on a piece of paper. And we waited for a few weeks, and the competition came back. And what they showed is that there was a library. They showed pictures of the outside of the library. Got that. Trees around the library, the walkway up to the front door of the library, hallway into the library. Got that. Books and shelves and tables inside the library. Got that. One particular book on display on a shelf, which was a distraction, because then we realized the book we're talking about is actually on the shelves. And then the book, and then the book cover with this circular swirly thing. So we got all of that. They revealed all of that in the competition at the final, disclosure. And the actual front cover of the book was the Fibonacci sequence. It was actually a figure, like an oval shaped, of what you would see as a mollusk or a seashell or something, where you see those different layers and layers and layers and layers and layers and layers that start at the very beginning at the center, and it goes out and out and around and around and around. That is mathematically called the Fibonacci sequence. So I didn't get that part, but I got the kind of circular part, and I could see the lines. Anyway, I did not win the competition. I can't remember why. I think it was because mine was way too big and way too general, and I didn't actually nail the Fibonacci. Somebody actually, I believe, nailed. They didn't know what they were nailing. They didn't know it was Fibonacci, but they drew the Fibonacci sequence. And that was the most important thing as far as the competition was concerned. So anyway, that's just a story about remote viewing. Live, real time. I've done others. And you can see how people could use that as a military weapon very easily. Anyway, it was a great movie. Thank you for listening. Let's do the reading, Elizabeth. Sorry, I just took up a lot of your time. All right, here we go. All right, let's have a look here. cards are already well shuffled in advance, like you know, but I want to do live to the last second so that you're a witness. No jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals, just very, very straightforward with our little diagnostic spread. Here we go. All right, Elizabeth. Oh, that's an excellent example. You often read the time with your eyes closed. That's a classic example. Well done, Elizabeth. All right, here we go. Let's break it all up. All right, here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things. And let's have a look at external influences. Okay, we've got the Seven of Swords here, and that's outside and around you. My feeling is that this is a very stark, simple, straightforward message. Be careful, okay? You're going to have to be very clever, very alert, very aware. You're going to almost in some ways have to think like a criminal in order to understand what's happening in your world right now around you. I know you've gone through some very serious challenges with some very mischievous, malicious people trying to screw your life around. And they are doing exactly this. They're doing classic, unhealthy expression of the Seven of Swords. They're trying to steal, screw you over, mentally, psychically trick you, manipulate you to get away with whatever it is they're trying to get away with, which is effectively to screw you over. In other words, okay, so as far as this reading is concerned, Elizabeth, so once you know that, you know your enemy. Okay? It's very, very important to know your enemy, Elizabeth. And then you want to do this. It's basically like, oh, dear enemy. Okay, pretend I'm Elizabeth now. I'm going to do some acting. Okay. Okay. All right, I see you people. I know who you are. I know what you're doing. I understand your game. You don't have to say any of this out loud. I know you're a bunch of assholes, dicks, pricks, pathetic, low-life creatures who've got nothing better to do than screw over an innocent person like myself for your own malicious entertainment. I see you. I see you. I see you. Okay? But you have not outsmarted me because I am an intelligent person. And I know your game. I know your playbook. Ha, 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 ha. All right, so got that cleared up. All right, let's have a look. What's the challenges here? Oh, look at that. Seven of Cups. Same position as Gregory. So, with the Seven of Cups here, my feeling is that all these retrogrades are making it very, very difficult to navigate the exact precision understanding of three-dimensional reality in order that you are not a victim of this maliciousness, okay? Because my feeling is that these are people who really enjoy being nasty, but they like to do it in subtle ways, like, you know, you could call them out and you could say, and they would say to you, how dare you accuse me of blah, 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 blah. You have no right. You have no authority. You're just a little person, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Nasty, nasty, nasty people around you. It's not over. You're still dealing with this stuff. You're going to have to deal with it. But every now and again, it's like figuring out exactly what is the precise definition of their maliciousness. Know your enemy. The way I see it with this Seven of Cups here, it's a very different expression from Gregory's. It's this like, aha, this is an illusion, this illusion, this illusion. This is all the different variations of the scams and the tricks and the manipulations, psychic warfare that they are trying to impose upon you. And in some ways, they're probably doing a great job. But once you know that that's their game and how they do it, then what you can do is allocate each sword with each one of these cups. And then it's basically like, aha, I figured it out. I figured it out. I figured out your game plan. I know your playbook. I know all your tricks. I know every single trick. You have 7 tricks. I know what each trick looks like. It isn't just trickery. I know what the trick is. You may be using your voice, your words, bits of paper, psychic stuff, legal things, obstruction, deliberate maliciousness, rumors, anything to subvert your beautiful energy, okay? So, in a way, these two are working together so that you don't have to be a victim of maliciousness. It's tricky. Let's have a look. What are the challenges here? Okay, it makes me feel like you already know you're on a path to new starts and new beginnings regarding your physical life. I think we talked about that in a previous reading, maybe relocating or something like that, or finances, and you want things to be good and proper and stable again for starting over. But it's very, very difficult to access the Ace of Pentacles when you might be swirling in an environment of chicanery and maliciousness that is sometimes very blunt and in your face and sometimes very devious and very subtle in the background. Either way, it's malicious towards you. So it's constantly frustrating you. Damn it, damn it, damn it. When am I going to get back into my center, my core, my own vibe, when I can recalibrate my life properly, the way it's supposed to be, in accordance with what is best for me, Elizabeth Boucher? Thank you very much. I know it's there. I'm perfectly aware it's there. It's sitting right there. But I have to get this from here to here. You can see it way in the background. There is the new horizons, the new starts, and the new beginnings. All right, so how do we deal with this situation going forward? Very, very carefully. Let's try to distill this. Let's just say all this chicanery and trickery is ultimately about screwing with you in your physical world, your house, your home, your finances, your banking, your money. And so the way forward is to be, number one, extremely careful with your personal finances right now so that you are not, let's say, swayed or manipulated or destabilized in these times of deep emotional confusion and turbulence by their maliciousness. In other words, even though all this horrible stuff is happening to you and you're having to deal with it when you don't really have to, you shouldn't be dealing with it, because in reality your situation should be very straightforward, legitimate, and just let's get this done. But for whatever reason, there are some malicious people in the equation, and it's just making everything very, very tedious. So I've used this story before on other readings with the Two of Pentacles when there's emotional turbulence in the background, okay? This is nothing new, okay? Uranus is in Taurus right now. That's very, very destabilizing for the global financial system and for the financial systems of the whole world. And everybody is reacting, okay? Instead of responding carefully, they're reacting irresponsibly. So with the Two of Pentacles here, what it means is that, hold on, stay there. So with the Two of Pentacles for you, Elizabeth, in this reading, my feeling is what it comes down to is that, yes, this is tedious, this is very, very annoying, but pretty much every day, you're going to have to make sure that you've got your finances as stable as possible. And if you feel threatened in any way, if like somebody's trying to pull some kind of financial money scam on you, they are. They're trying to do that. So you have to realize that. Okay, how do I stabilize myself? Since I know I'm getting screwed over, I know people, you're not getting screwed over, I'm sorry. I know that people are trying to screw me over. I know that they are using malicious, subtle, psychic manipulations of any kind and all kinds that they can think of. So it makes my financial world a little bit like this. So in order to navigate in that financial world that is like this, you have to operate yourself like a gimbal. A gimbal is a stability device in a sailboat. Sailboats go through the ocean and the water. They go up and they go down. They go left and they go right. They get swirled around and all over the place. And when you're really hungry, or if you want a cup of tea or hot food or something, and you want a meal, and you're on your sailboat, but if the water is still going like that, the little kitchen area and the stove, they're usually built on what's called a gimbal, so that everything can swirl around you, but the top of the oven stays flat. Okay? The boat can go here, go there, go there, go there, but the top of the oven stays flat, so you can put a saucepan on or a kettle and you can boil some water without everything flying all over your boat. And then when it's done, you can stay there like this and then carefully make yourself a cup of tea and then maintain your balance even though everything is swirling around you. So I'm primarily focused on your finances. The beauty is that when you know the playbook of your enemy, when you know all their tricks and their games, it makes it easy for you to navigate in this world. This is not changing. This is what is. It's instability, and it's being caused by malicious people. Emotional instability, psychic, spiritual instability, self-doubt, confusion. But you know their playbook. So when you know their playbook, it gives you the ability to effectively hold a degree of stability during these episodes of turbulence. And once you know that, then they can't really take you down. They might rock you around a bit, but they can't take you down because you're in harmony with yourself, okay? I'm not a cage fighter or anything, but you've probably heard about these mythological stories about the most high-powered fighters. They're very, very light. They're like, da 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 da, you can't touch me. Oh, I'm the master of this blow and that blow. And when they psychically, emotionally, spiritually see their moment, then they deliver the kill shot. Like, you know what? Oh, you're trying to knock me down. Well, watch this. And you're done. You're gone. The enemy is gone. Poof! Like that. So anyway, I hope the reading helps you. I guess the way to go forward is like it's almost like to be that gimbal. It means accepting and the reality that things are unstable, and then realizing there's no point in trying to live like this or like or trying to conform to the instability. In other words, it's like understand and allow that the instability is out there and it's being fabricated by these nasty people. So what you have to do is activate your internal gimbal so that this stays even no matter what. Okay? So I hope that helps you. Hope that made sense. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's been a pleasure to read for you. Thank you for everybody who was here. Thank you for hanging out. We will do this again next Sunday. In the meantime, I invite you to come and visit TarotLumination over on the Rumble platform. Just go to TarotLumination on Rumble. And I'll see you there and we can talk about all the stuff I can't talk about here. Ha, ha, ha. So, let's have a look. All right, I'm just going to wrap it up. No more storytelling, nothing like that. You all we've been here a long time. You got places to go, things to do, people to see. Take care. See you next Sunday. Tell your friends and family. Spread it around. Come and visit in Rumble. Okay. Oh, I said it. Okay. Good night. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your kindness and your donations.